Admiral Zexathara stood before the massive viewing screen of the Dominion command station, her four arms crossed in contemplation. The station orbited the capital world of Veltar, serving as the nerve center for the most powerful galactic empire in known history. For 3,000 years, the Galactic Dominion had ruled over 47 star systems, crushing any civilization that dared to resist their expansion. The emergency klaxons had been blaring for the past hour, ever since the deep space sensors detected something impossible. A fleet of unknown vessels had appeared at the edge of the system, but these weren't like anything in their databases. The ships were crude by Dominion standards, built with primitive metals and basic energy signatures. Yet something about their formation made even the most seasoned military commanders uneasy. "Report," Zexathara commanded, her voice carrying the authority of someone who had conquered 17 worlds personally. Sub-Commander Krill, a nervous Zalakian with translucent blue skin, approached with trembling hands. "Admiral, we've confirmed the readings. 63 vessels of unknown origin have taken position at coordinates 447-889. They're maintaining formation but have not responded to our standard challenge protocols." 63 ships? Zexathara's mandibles clicked in amusement. Do these primitives not understand what they face? Our battle station alone could vaporize their entire fleet. The viewing screen shifted to display the mysterious Armada. The ships were indeed crude-looking, with angular hulls that seemed more functional than beautiful. No elegant curves or artistic flourishes that marked civilized warships. They appeared to be constructed from basic steel alloys with simple weapon mounts. To Dominion eyes, they looked like museum pieces. "Perhaps they're refugees," suggested Tactical Officer Morndeg, a towering Craxian whose species had been absorbed into the Dominion centuries ago. "Their technology suggests a recently spacefaring race. They might be fleeing some disaster." Admiral Zexathara's laugh was sharp and cold. "Or they're foolish enough to challenge us. Either way, we'll add another species to our collection." She activated the communications array. "Open a channel." The main screen flickered to life, revealing the bridge of the lead alien vessel. The creature that appeared was unlike any species in Dominion records. It stood upright on two legs, had pale skin, and only two arms. Most striking were its small eyes and the complete lack of any obvious natural weapons like claws or fangs. The being appeared remarkably fragile. "I am Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Human Fleet," the creature spoke in accented galactic standard. "We represent the Human Republic, and we're here to discuss the immediate cessation of Dominion military operations." The bridge fell silent. Several officers exchanged glances of disbelief. After a moment, Admiral Zexathara began to laugh, her sounds echoing throughout the command center. "You're here to discuss our military operations? Child, do you have any idea who you're addressing?" Admiral Chen's expression remained unchanged. "I'm addressing the leaders of a galactic empire that has enslaved 47 worlds and committed genocide against 12 sapient species. We've studied your expansion patterns, your slave labor camps, and your systematic elimination of cultures that resist assimilation. This ends today." "This ends today?" Zexathara repeated, her amusement growing. "Little human, your 63 primitive ships face the might of the entire Dominion fleet. We have 1,200 vessels in this system alone, each one more advanced than your entire Armada combined." The human admiral nodded calmly. "We're aware of your numbers. We've been monitoring your forces for several months while we prepared for this moment. Your ships are indeed impressive, Admiral. Beautiful designs with elegant weapon systems and sophisticated shielding. Very artistic." "Then surely you understand the futility of your position," Zexathara said. "Surrender now, and perhaps your species will serve as laborers rather than being eliminated entirely." "That's not going to happen," Chen replied firmly. What you don't seem to understand, Admiral, is that while your ships are beautiful, they were designed by a culture that has never faced real war. The Dominion has always fought against civilizations that were technologically inferior or unprepared for battle. You've grown complacent. The Dominion Admiral's amusement faded slightly. Complacent? We have conquered 47 worlds. Yes. You've conquered civilizations of poets and philosophers, scientists and artists, peaceful species that had no concept of total warfare. Chen's eyes hardened. But you've never faced humans. We come from a world where war is an art form, where survival meant developing the most efficient methods of destroying our enemies. Your ships are beautiful, Admiral Zexthara. Ours are designed to kill. Before the Dominion commander could respond, her tactical officer called out urgently, "Admiral, the human ships are moving into attack formation. Their weapon systems are powering up, but the energy readings are strange." On the screen, the human vessels had indeed begun to move. They flowed through space with a coordination that seemed almost impossible given their apparent technological limitations. Each ship moved in perfect synchronization with the others, forming patterns that made the Dominion officers uncomfortable without knowing why. "What kind of weapons are they carrying?" Zexthara demanded. "The signatures are unlike anything in our database," Tactical Officer Morndeg reported. "The energy output seems relatively low, but the configuration is completely alien to our understanding." Admiral Chen smiled grimly on the screen. "Admiral, I'm going to give you one final opportunity to order the immediate release of all enslaved populations and the withdrawal of Dominion forces to your home system. Refuse, and we will demonstrate why humanity spent 10,000 years learning to wage war before we ever reached the stars." "You're mad," Zexthara snarled. "All ships, prepare for battle. We'll crush these primitives and take their homeworld as an example to any other species that dares challenge us." The connection terminated, leaving the Dominion bridge in tense silence. Admiral Zexthara stared at the tactical display showing the human formation, a strange chill running down her spine despite her confidence in Dominion superiority. "Begin the attack," she commanded. "Deploy the full fleet. These humans want to see our power. Let's show them what 3,000 years of galactic dominion has created." As the massive Dominion fleet began to move toward the human armada, none of them noticed the subtle energy readings emanating from the crude human vessels. None of them understood that those angular, ugly ships weren't just functional. They were specifically designed for one purpose: the complete and total destruction of everything they faced. The humans had spent millennia perfecting the art of war long before they discovered faster-than-light travel. They had refined tactics on 100 battlefields, developed weapons that could level continents, and created military doctrines based on the simple principle that when humans went to war, they went to win at any cost. The Galactic Dominion was about to learn what happened when an empire built on enslaving peaceful civilizations finally encountered a species that had turned warfare into a science. Admiral Chen watched the approaching Dominion fleet on her tactical display and turned to her weapons officer. "All ships, prepare for engagement. Execute Operation Shock and Awe. Let's show them what humans do best." The real battle was about to begin. The Dominion fleet advanced in their traditional formation, a display of overwhelming force that had intimidated countless civilizations into surrender. 1,200 vessels arranged in perfect geometric patterns, their hulls gleaming with advanced armor plating and energy shields that shimmered like soap bubbles in the starlight. It was a sight that had broken the spirit of entire species. Admiral Zexthara watched from her command station as her forces moved to engage the tiny human fleet. "Maintain formation," she ordered. "We'll demonstrate proper naval tactics to these primitives before we destroy them." But something was wrong with the tactical display. The human ships weren't responding as expected. Instead of retreating or attempting to match the Dominion formation, they had spread out into smaller groups, moving in patterns that defied conventional space combat doctrine. "Admiral," called out Tactical Officer Morndeg, his voice carrying a note of confusion. "The human vessels are splitting their formation. They're moving to surround us?" Zexathara's mandibles clicked in irritation. "Impossible! They have 63 ships against our 1,200. They can't surround anything." She studied the display more carefully, then felt a chill of realization. "Unless—" Admiral Chen wasn't lying, she whispered. "They really don't fight like civilized beings." The first exchange of fire came when the Dominion's lead battleships entered weapons range. Massive energy beams lanced out toward the human vessels, enough firepower to vaporize a small moon. The humans responded with weapons that seemed almost primitive by comparison, kinetic projectiles and focused energy beams that appeared crude next to Dominion plasma artillery. But the results were shocking. The human projectiles punched through Dominion shields as if they didn't exist. Not because the weapons were more powerful, but because they had been specifically designed to exploit the electromagnetic frequencies that Dominion shields used. Every shot found its mark with surgical precision. "Impossible!" Sub-Commander Krill gasped as he watched 3 Dominion cruisers explode in rapid succession. "Their weapons shouldn't be able to penetrate our defenses." Admiral Zexathara's mind raced as she began to understand what she was facing. They've been studying us. Those months they claimed to be monitoring our forces. They weren't just watching. They were learning, analyzing our technology, our tactics, our weaknesses. On the tactical display, human ships moved with a fluidity that seemed almost organic. They didn't maintain formation like proper military vessels. Instead, they flowed around Dominion positions like water, striking at weak points and retreating before return fire could find them. "Where did they learn to fight like this?" Morndeg demanded, as another wave of Dominion ships fell to human attack runs. The answer came from an intercepted human communication that their systems automatically translated. "Pack hunting formation Alpha. Execute. Remember your training from the Wolf War of 2387. These targets are larger but less agile than Centauri battlecruisers." "Wolf War?" Zexathara repeated in horror. "How many wars have these creatures fought?" Her communications officer, a nervous Trillian named Zeph, looked up from his console with wide eyes. "Admiral, I've been analyzing their communications chatter. They're referencing dozens of different conflicts. Something called the Resource Wars. The Colonial Rebellion, the Machine Intelligence Crisis, the Outer Rim Campaign. It goes on and on." The terrible truth began to dawn on the Dominion command staff. They weren't fighting a recently spacefaring civilization. They were fighting a species that had been perfecting warfare for thousands of years before they ever left their home system. "Admiral!" Tactical Officer Morndeg's voice cracked with panic. "The humans are deploying some kind of device. Energy signature is massive, but I can't identify the weapon type." On the main screen, Admiral Chen's voice cut through the chaos of battle. "Admiral Zexathara, I'm going to assume you can hear this transmission. What you're about to witness is something humans call a demonstration of force. We want you to understand exactly what you're dealing with before we finish this." From the center of the human formation, a single vessel moved forward. It was even cruder looking than the others, essentially a massive engine attached to what appeared to be an enormous metallic sphere. "That's not a warship," Zexathara breathed. "What are they planning?" Her answer came as the sphere began to unfold like a mechanical flower. Inside was something that made every Dominion officer's blood run cold. A miniature star contained within a framework of exotic matter and controlled magnetic fields. "Stellar manipulation technology," whispered Sub-Commander Krill. "They've weaponized a star." Admiral Chen's voice continued over the communication channel. "We call this a nova bomb. It's essentially a portable supernova that we can control and direct. We developed it during our war against the Silicon Collective in 2445. They had planet-sized mechanical intelligences that required decisive solutions. The artificial star pulsed once, and a directed beam of stellar energy lanced out toward the Dominion's secondary battle group. 50 ships simply ceased to exist, vaporized in an instant by temperatures that matched the core of a sun. Now, Chen continued, let me explain what's about to happen to your fleet. We've identified the positions of every Dominion vessel in this system. We have Nova bombs positioned at strategic points throughout the battle space. We also have something we call quantum mines, devices that can create localized gravity wells strong enough to crush your ships into singularities. As if summoned by her words, space itself began to distort around several Dominion vessels. Reality twisted and warped as artificial black holes materialized, dragging entire squadrons into gravitational death spirals. How? Zexathera gasped. How do you have such weapons? War, came the simple reply. When humans fight, we fight to win. We don't fight for territory or resources or pride. We fight for survival, which means we develop weapons capable of ending any threat permanently. The battle had devolved into a massacre. Human ships moved through the Dominion fleet like sharks through a school of fish, their crude appearance hiding weapons systems that could manipulate fundamental forces of the universe. They fought with a coordination that spoke of countless battles fought against enemies far more dangerous than the Dominion had ever faced. "Admiral!" Tactical Officer Morndeg called out, his voice hollow with defeat. "We've lost 70% of the fleet. The remaining vessels are requesting permission to retreat." Admiral Zexathera stared at the tactical display in numb shock. In less than 2 hours, the most powerful military force in galactic history had been reduced to scattered survivors fleeing for their lives. "Open a channel to the human fleet," she commanded, her voice barely a whisper. Admiral Chen appeared on screen once again, her expression grim but not triumphant. "Admiral Zexathera, are you ready to discuss terms?" "Terms?" Zexathera repeated numbly. "The unconditional surrender of all Dominion military forces, the immediate release of all enslaved populations, and the withdrawal of your government to your home system. Your expansion ends today. And if we refuse?" Chen's eyes hardened. "Then we demonstrate why humans have survived 10,000 years of constant warfare. What you've seen today is just the beginning. We have weapons that can sterilize entire star systems, technologies that can turn planets into weapons, and military doctrines developed through conflicts you can't imagine." She paused, letting the weight of her words sink in. "The choice is yours, Admiral. Surrender and live to rebuild your civilization peacefully, or force us to show you what total war really means." Admiral Zexathera looked at the tactical display showing the scattered remnants of what had once been an invincible fleet. She thought of the 47 worlds under Dominion control, the billions of beings who depended on the Empire for order and stability. I need time to consult with the High Council," she managed. "You have 12 hours, Chen replied. "After that, we begin Phase 2 of our operation. Trust me, Admiral, you don't want to see Phase 2. The communication ended, leaving the Dominion command staff in stunned silence. They had been defeated not by superior technology, but by superior understanding of warfare itself. The humans hadn't just brought better weapons, they had brought 10 millennia of experience in the art of destruction. As Admiral Zexathera contemplated the impossible choice before her, one thought kept running through her mind. What kind of universe had created a species so perfectly adapted for war that they could casually deploy weaponized stars and artificial black holes? The answer was about to reshape the entire galaxy. The Dominion High Council chamber had never seen such chaos. Representatives from 47 worlds spoke in overlapping voices, their various languages creating a cacophony of fear, anger, and disbelief. Supreme Chancellor Vorthok, an ancient Zalakian whose family had ruled the Dominion for 8 centuries, called for order with increasing desperation. "Silence!" His voice boomed through the translation systems. "We must discuss our response to this. This human ultimatum with dignity and logic." Admiral Zexathara stood at the center of the chamber, her once pristine uniform now bearing the stains of defeat. Around her, holographic displays showed the devastating aftermath of the battle: 900 destroyed vessels, 300,000 Dominion personnel dead or missing. The most powerful fleet in galactic history reduced to debris in less than 4 hours. "You're certain of these casualty figures?" asked Counselor Merektar, a massive Craxian whose species had been among the first to join the Dominion willingly. "The numbers are confirmed," Zexathara replied, her voice hollow. "But the casualties are not the most concerning aspect of our situation. The humans demonstrated weapons technology that should be impossible for a newly spacefaring species." Supreme Chancellor Vorthak's tentacles writhed with agitation. "Explain these weapons. Our scientists claim that what you describe violates several fundamental laws of physics." "That's what we thought as well," the Admiral admitted, "until we saw them in action. The humans have somehow learned to manipulate stellar matter as a weapon. They can create localized gravitational anomalies. Most disturbing of all, they appear to have perfect intelligence about our defensive capabilities." Counselor Yethra, a bird-like avian whose species prized intellectual achievement above all else, spoke up with her characteristic analytical tone. "This suggests extensive preparation. How long have they been observing us without our knowledge?" "Based on their combat effectiveness, possibly years," Zexathara answered. "They knew exactly where to hit us, exactly how to penetrate our shields, exactly which formations would be most effective against our tactics. This wasn't a spontaneous attack. It was a planned military operation." The chamber fell into uneasy silence as the implications sank in. The Dominion had built their empire on the assumption that they possessed superior technology and tactics. The idea that a previously unknown species had been studying them, learning their weaknesses, preparing for war, it challenged everything they believed about their place in the galaxy. "We still have time," Chancellor Vorthak declared, though his confidence seemed forced. "Our main fleet is spread across 47 systems. We can recall them, consolidate our forces, and mount a proper defense." "Against what?" Admiral Zexathara's question carried a bitter edge. "Chancellor, you didn't see what they did to our ships. These humans don't fight like any civilized species. They use weapons that turn physics into a tool of war. They have no concept of honorable combat or proportional response." A new voice entered the discussion as the chamber doors opened to admit Intelligence Director Quindar, a shadowy Umbrian whose species specialized in information gathering. "Honorable members of the Council, I have completed our analysis of intercepted human communications during the battle." All eyes turned to the intelligence officer as he activated a holographic display. "What we discovered is disturbing. The humans were not operating at full capacity during their engagement with our fleet." "What do you mean?" Chancellor Vorthak demanded. "The communications contained multiple references to what they call rules of engagement and proportional response protocols. They were deliberately limiting their weapons usage to avoid what they termed excessive civilian casualties on Veltar." The council chamber erupted in shocked murmurs. Counselor Merektar's voice cut through the noise. "They were holding back? During a military engagement?" "More than that," Intelligence Director Quindar continued. "We intercepted several orders from Admiral Chen specifically forbidding the use of what they call planet crackers and system killers. Apparently, they have weapons capable of destroying entire worlds that they chose not to deploy." Admiral Zexathara felt a chill run down her spine. System killers? What kind of monsters have we encountered? According to their communications, these weapons were developed during something called the Extragalactic War, against entities they refer to as the Devourers. The humans apparently fought a conflict against beings that consumed entire star systems, and they developed weapons to match that threat level. The chamber fell into stunned silence. Several counselors exchanged glances of pure terror. The Dominion had built their empire by overwhelming less advanced civilizations with superior firepower. The idea that they had encountered a species that considered planet-destroying weapons to be routine military equipment was beyond their comprehension. Chancellor Vorthak's voice was barely a whisper. How many wars have these humans fought? Based on our analysis of their tactical communications, at least 47 major conflicts since they achieved faster-than-light travel. They reference something called the 10,000 Years War that apparently took place on their home world before they reached space. Counselor Yethra's feathers ruffled with agitation. 10,000 years of continuous warfare? How did their civilization survive? That's perhaps the most disturbing aspect, the intelligence director replied. Their entire culture appears to be built around the concept of survival through superior military capability. They don't fight to conquer or enslave, they fight to eliminate threats permanently. As if summoned by their discussion, an alert chimed throughout the chamber. A communication was incoming from the human fleet. Chancellor Vorthak authorized the connection with trembling appendages. Admiral Chen appeared on the main display, her expression calm but implacable. Supreme Chancellor Vorthak, I trust you've had sufficient time to consider our terms. Admiral Chen, the Chancellor replied, struggling to maintain diplomatic composure. Perhaps we could discuss a more gradual transition. The Dominion has maintained stability across 47 worlds for 3 millennia. Sudden changes could lead to chaos. Chancellor, I'm going to be direct with you, Chen interrupted. We've been monitoring your communications. We know you're considering recalling your fleets for a counterattack. Let me save you the trouble of making that mistake. The display shifted to show a tactical overview of the entire Dominion territory. Red markers indicated human fleet positions throughout the galaxy. Positions that should have been impossible for 63 ships to occupy. What you're seeing are the locations of human task forces that were already in position before our fleet arrived here, Chen explained. We've been preparing for this operation for 2 years. Every major Dominion military installation, every fleet concentration, every strategic resource point is currently within range of our weapons. Chancellor Vorthak's tentacles went rigid with shock. Impossible. Our sensors would have detected. Your sensors are designed to detect conventional spacecraft using conventional propulsion systems, Chen replied. Human ships use technology developed during our war against the phase wraiths, entities that existed partially outside normal space-time. We learned to build vessels that could hide in dimensional spaces your instruments can't perceive. Admiral Zexathara leaned forward in disbelief. You've been watching us for 2 years? Watching, learning, and preparing, Chen confirmed. We studied every aspect of your military, your technology, your political structure, and your expansion patterns. We know about the slave labor camps on Kethvar 7th. We know about the genocide of the peaceful ones on Mordun 3. We know about the cultural erasure protocols you've implemented on 37 worlds. The human admiral's expression hardened. What you call the Galactic Dominion, we call a criminal organization that has committed atrocities across half the galaxy. The only reason this facility and this planet still exist is because we believe in proportional response and the protection of civilian populations. But make no mistake, she continued. If you force us to continue this conflict, we will demonstrate why humans survived 10,000 years of warfare against enemies far more dangerous than your empire. We have weapons that can collapse entire star systems into black holes. We have technologies that can rewrite the fundamental laws of physics in localized areas. We have military doctrines designed for conflicts that span multiple galaxies. Chancellor Vorthak stared at the display showing human forces positioned throughout Dominion space. The scope of the operation was staggering. These beings had infiltrated their territory, studied their weaknesses, and positioned forces for a coordinated strike across 47 star systems. "What do you want from us?" he asked, his voice defeated. "Complete demilitarization of the Dominion fleet, immediate release of all enslaved populations, reparations to be paid to the 47 worlds you've occupied, and most importantly, the establishment of a new galactic government based on voluntary cooperation rather than forced subjugation. And if we comply with these terms, then humanity will help your species transition to a peaceful existence. We'll share our agricultural technology to end food scarcity on your home world. We'll provide medical advances that can extend your natural lifespans. We'll teach you how to build a civilization based on cooperation rather than conquest." Admiral Chen paused, letting her words sink in. "But understand this, Chancellor. This is not a negotiation. This is an opportunity for your species to survive and prosper. The alternative is the complete military defeat of the Dominion and the dismantling of your empire by force." The communication ended, leaving the council chamber in absolute silence. For several minutes, no one spoke as they contemplated the impossible choice before them. Finally, Counselor Yethra's voice cut through the quiet. "We have no choice. These humans have demonstrated capabilities that exceed our understanding of what's possible. They've positioned forces throughout our territory without our knowledge. They possess weapons that can destroy star systems. But to surrender everything we've built?" Chancellor Vorthak's voice trailed off. "What we built was an empire based on enslaving peaceful civilizations," Admiral Zexathara said quietly. "Perhaps it's time to learn a different way of existing in this galaxy." One by one, the council members voted to accept the human terms. The Galactic Dominion, which had ruled 47 star systems for 3,000 years, officially surrendered to a species that had been unknown to them just days before. As the formal surrender was transmitted to the human fleet, Chancellor Vorthak reflected on the cosmic irony of their situation. They had built their empire by overwhelming civilizations that were unprepared for war. Now they had encountered a species that had turned warfare into an art form, and they were as helpless against human military doctrine as those ancient peaceful worlds had been against Dominion firepower. The galaxy was about to change forever, and for the first time in millennia, that change would be driven not by conquest, but by the promise of a better way of coexisting among the stars. Admiral Chen's final transmission summed up the new reality perfectly. "Welcome to the galactic community, Chancellor. Now let's build something worth defending instead of something worth destroying."